All right, Cris Chico, we're here. It's episode 80 of the Get Shit Done show. I want to say thank you because I asked you 5 minutes ago if you wanted to be the special guest, and you said yes. And there's nothing I love more than a spontaneous entrepreneur. Seriously, I really, really appreciate it. And I thought I was flying solo this morning for the episode, and so it's nice to have somebody to talk to.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a little bit serendipity here, because the reason I did that and the reason I said yes to you is because of a pattern interrupt. And it's an interesting, I was actually going to ask you, why did you think of me? Why did my name pop up in your head?
I'll tell you, because I decided that I'm not that good at planning ahead. I'm way better at spontaneity. And the way we've been doing the Get Shit Done show and the way my co-host situation has been working, it's all been kind of in flux in the last couple of weeks because of various situations. And so I decided, well, how can I get someone to say yes last minute, right? I was like, well, I'm going to look on Facebook in my friends list and see who has a little green circle next to their picture. Because if they're on Facebook right now, they'll probably see my messenger note right now. That at least there's a chance they'll respond. And so I looked through a whole bunch of entrepreneurs that I know who had a green circle, and there weren't that many of them at 8:45 a.m. Eastern, and who would be interesting to talk to. And you were somebody we haven't talked in, or at least we haven't had a significant conversation in years. We've had a couple back and forths or whatever, but like many years. And meeting you in the past has been cool. So I figured, why not? Why not? So I decided to ask because you were present. I could see that you were probably paying attention on your phone or on Facebook in some capacity, and because you're an entrepreneur who I've known for a long time, and we're due for a catch up. So those are my criteria.
And so the reason I said yes, I was actually sitting in my driveway just after coming home from dropping off my daughter at school, looking at the post on Nothing Held Back. And then your message came up, and there was hesitation on my part because I'm like, well, should I not? Right. And it's funny because I'm on the opposite end of you, meaning that you said, hey, you're not really a planner. You're more of spontaneous.
Right.
And I'm actually the opposite.
Oh,
and so the reason I did this is because, oddly enough, as luck would have it, I've been digging into hypnosis, Bandler, and NLP, and a few other things. And one of the things that I created, and I can tell you what I did, I created a chat GPT with Bandler in it. And he told me that I need to be, be more spontaneous, and then also think about pattern interrupts. So when I was thinking about saying no to you, that was my trigger to say yes.
So your chat GPT Richard Bandler gave you advice to get on the Get Shit Done show.
In an interesting way, yes.
That's awesome. That's a really funny synchronicity there.
Yes, that's what I said.
Bandler's super smart. I did a 2-week training with him several years ago and learned NLP directly from Bandler, later in my hypnosis career after I'd already learned it from a few other people. But yeah, Bandler's incredible. And yeah, we're doing a ton of stuff with hypnosis and NLP and Get Shit Done these days. So
interesting.
Very direct. Like I just yesterday, on yesterday's episode of the Get Shit Done show, I hypnotized someone live for 20 minutes around money mindset stuff, for the episode yesterday. So, hypnosis has had I've been doing something really interesting for the last few months. I did an experiment where I started offering private one-on-one hypnosis sessions. And instead of charging $1,000 a session, I let people literally decide their own price, like to pay what it would be worth to them to create the transformation that they wanted. And so I've been working with a wide variety of people who paid a wide variety of amounts. And so it's been a really interesting process to work with people in this way. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, and I'm not sure if you wanted to specific topics, but I can give you a sprinkling of things that come to mind, and then perhaps you can go down whatever rabbit holes, because I think that there's some interesting rabbit holes here with you and I right now with this particular point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go wherever we want. My intention was to talk about entrepreneurial productivity with you in some way, shape, or form. That's generally what we talk about in some way with Get Shit Done, is we either talk about how you get shit done, or where are you struggling to get shit done? Maybe both, right? Or we could just talk more about hypnosis and NLP and pattern interrupts and some of the interesting things you've been working on.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, the issue has been in getting shit done. So in other words, that's what when you asked me, like, hey, let's talk about how you get shit done, I said, hey, I'm really good right now.
I'm having a hard time getting shit done. Right? Yeah, I'm struggling.
Yeah. And
we all are struggling. I mean, that's one of the things about wanting to grow as an entrepreneur, wanting to be more successful, going through periods of great success and going through periods of great constraint, right? The ups and the downs. Like, you have to you have to struggle from time to time in order to get a breakthrough. But what when you say that you're struggling to get shit done, what's going on? What's happening?
Well, this is what I've been going through over the last and maybe there's a lot of people here that can relate to this, is going through life with a limiter, kind of like, that old Release Your Brakes book, right? 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the gas.
Right.
And so the reason why my interest in NLP is because for a very long time prior, last couple of years, I've struggled with, imposter syndrome, hesitation, overthinking, and attack that from a productivity standpoint, meaning like, okay, well, I wasn't delegating, so I need to learn how to delegate better. But then what I realized, and this has just been recently, that attacking that problem from a delegation perspective is almost like a Band-Aid, because I wasn't really getting to the core of the issue of why I wasn't delegating or why I wasn't productive. And for a very long time, I was trying to figure out why was it that I was having these problems. So you go down this rabbit hole of like, oh, that it, there was a genesis, something happened in my childhood, right. And then and you go,
or my parents are this way, or
right. And I've had many conversations with a friend of mine and somebody that probably Rich Sheffrin. And so one of the things that I've come to, and I'd be interested in what your take on this is that rather than trying to figure out the genesis of the problem, right. Why not fix the problem, right? Because, you go down the rabbit hole of why is it that you are the way you are, but why not just figure out what you want to be and then just be that person and fix it? And so that's what led me down the rabbit hole of trying to figure that out. And it led me down the rabbit hole of NLP. And I looked at, I analyzed like, okay, what's the best way for me to do this, right? I could go down the rabbit hole of Tony Robbins and trying to figure out, go through his methodology. But the genesis of him was Bandler and Grinder, right? Et cetera. And then I went down the rabbit hole of Steve Andreas and Self-Concept book. But that seemed a little bit laborious and time consuming, and it just didn't click with me. And then I went down the rabbit hole of Bandler. And to me, it made sense. And then also hypnosis. And then I've been studying really.
Let me ask you a question. How long has this been an interest of yours? Like, is this something in the last 6 months or last 6 years, or like how long have you been interested in NLP and hypnosis?
It was always a small interest from a curiosity standpoint.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
But more recently, over the last couple months, the interest has elevated because, like, I feel like maybe this is the thing that could be the thing that helps me break out of a lot of things. Because what I look at is there's always so much information out there with regards to, like, self-help and fixing. And I realized that, a lot of these things are Band-Aid, and you have to maybe get to the core of the issue. And it feels to me like this is, and I've been also looking at a lot of Paul McKenna's stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to figure that out. So I've been trying to feel my way around. And so what happened is I had a bunch of, Bandler's old materials, his transformations and all his books. And I had it in OCR, which is where, it's recognize the text. And then also his last book. And I loaded them up into ChatGPT, and I created my own ChatGPT. Right. And I've been talking to it. So anytime I have a problem, I'm like, hey, I'm having a challenge here. And some of the things that I thought were a little bit hokey, and I thought, this sounds really ridiculous, have really been working. For example, like me trying to get rid of a habit or release, have me thinking a different way. The old, hey, take an image and reduce it, etc. And then run it backwards with carnival music and all this other stuff. And I thought,
it's so effective. It's unbelievably effective. Yeah.
But it sounds ridiculous when you first hear it. And then as you're doing it, you're like, this cannot work. And then 2 days later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so different about this thing. Right. And I'm like, but then now that fuels a fire, with regards to that. And so that's what my interest is realizing that, oh, wait a second. And then also, here's the other thing that really got me with hypnosis. Because a lot of times we think about hypnosis and we think about like those shows on TVs and everything else. And you think it's just kind of weird. But then something clicked the other day when I realized hypnosis is being in a trance, right? In a positive way, like opening yourself up. But I realized the other day, I'm like, wait a second, we're living in a trance every single day.
Right.
If I sit at my desk and I'm unproductive, I'm really technically in an unproductive trance, right? And so then it clicked on me like, oh, wait a second.
Into the abyss of the internet.
Yes. And then there's been times when I've been super productive, but that's also being in a trance. Right. And so then now I'm, the thought process is, wait a second, are there tools, are there methodologies that I could use to methodically put me in the trance that I want, and forget about trying to figure out why I am the way I am. And instead, why not just, make a decision about the way I want to be and what's the quickest and the easiest way to be able to get there. So anyway, those are the things going on in my head. And so when you reached out to me, it was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, because I'm just like, this is the perfect person for me to talk to right this second.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I guess it was meant to be. Little destiny intervention today, perhaps.
Yeah. So I don't know, any of that, what I told you was maybe helpful to maybe give you some ideas of maybe some things that we could talk about.
Yeah, that's super good, Cris. So can I just ask you some questions about your life and business to get a snapshot of what you're dealing with?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I went and I hadn't really looked deeply at your Facebook profile in a long time. And so I clicked through, and you gave me a link to your YouTube channel. So I got a quick idea of what you're doing. But in short, to explain to our loyal Get Shit Done cult members here, what do you do? Are you a solopreneur? Do you have a team? Are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? What's your business? What's your life like right now?
Yeah, so I help people get started in real estate investing. I've been doing that since 2008. Well, that's when you and I met. Yep. Chris and Dago were partners. I'm considered the pioneer in the industry, because so I've engineered and come up with strategies that were never, so I'm considered like one of the top guys in the industry. However, part of the issue is I don't see myself in that way, but we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
So, I always felt that that the business has been limited by my own personal, things going on in the head. That's number one. I'm married. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We've been married 24 years together for a total of 30. I live in South Florida, and I have two daughters, 14 and 17. And, I live, you know, from the outside world, I live, and there's many things for me to be happy about. I have a tremendous marriage. I like hanging out with my wife, after all this time, right? I have wonderful kids. I live in an amazing home. I live in an almost $2 million house, but yet I'm very unsatisfied because I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm unnecessarily holding myself back.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm trying to, and then I'm happy to dig into any of those, but I'm just trying to give you like at least.
I was just looking for a quick overview, and so that people could kind of relate to who you are and where you're at, right?
Yeah,
that's perfect.
And then also I do have a small team. I used to have a bigger team. I have a small team. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people, excluding myself.
Great. And for in your business or in your life, for that matter, when you say that you're struggling to get shit done, right? So when we get back to some of the, rather than tearing into why you are the way you are and all the trauma that you've been through and all the, all of the this and all, we all have all sorts of things that make us who we are and all sorts of theoretical reasons for it. But what are some of the things that you're trying to get done or trying to get done better, or an area where you're trying to move forward, but you feel like you're stuck? Like, is there something specific that you're trying to improve in?
Well, I mean, I think the challenge that I have is that, is there something specific? There's a lot of things. Like there's a lot of projects that I have that just take forever to get done. And the reason for that is that I go into this pattern of overthinking, overanalyzing, and then ingesting more information, and then not feeling like I have enough. And so an interesting 30-second little thing. I have all my journals from written journals in Evernote from 2004 and on, and I loaded them up into ChatGPT, and I had to do this whole analysis of like, hey, what are some of the limiting beliefs and everything else? Okay. And it gave me this whole cascade of limiting beliefs. And then I asked it, hey, what's one keystone negative belief that if I was to eradicate that, then it would eliminate many of the other ones. And the one limiting belief that it came up with was that I am good as I am, or I am worthy, right? And that was the main thing. And so I think that's one of the, in other words, let's say, for example, the way that shows up is that, let's say if I want to publish more YouTube videos, and I don't. Why? Because I feel like I have a lack of information. So then I go down this rabbit hole of ingesting information. But what's the genesis of that is that me being okay with, hey, I do know enough. I do have more than enough information. Friends come to me for advice, and I give them all the advice, and I'm like, oh, Chico, I didn't know you knew all this advice. It's all in your head.
Right.
But yet I don't feel that I know enough to take action on my own situations. So
self-worth.
Yeah. That's a nice way of articulating all the stuff I told you.
So, what are some examples, or what's an example of something that you would do or be able to do or would do more often if you had higher, stronger, more complete self-worth?
I would publish more on my social, YouTube, and let's say Instagram. Be more frequently. Number one, I would accept the praise that I get. Many times people will come to me and say, "Oh my God, Chico, you're amazing," and everything else. And then in the back of the mind, and I'm sure other people have this, is like, "Oh, if you only knew how fucked up I was," like that negative self-talk.
No, historically, I personally have struggled with accepting compliments and appreciation so lots of people are very challenged with that, right? So you're not alone, but that doesn't make it less significant, right?
Correct.
So, so you would publish more on social,
right? I would. That's one thing. I would take action on the knowledge that I have versus trying to ingest more knowledge. So as I say, for example.
Well, here's the thing. So that that's a good sound bite.
Yeah.
But it's a sound bite because take action means nothing.
Got it.
So in direct response marketing world, we're all take action, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really mean anything unless we're spelling out exactly what that action is. If I can't take a picture of you taking the action, you're not taking action. So if you're doing 101 jumping jacks, that's something we can pay attention to, right?
Right.
That's action. So let's get specific on what's the action that you want to start taking, either more often or with greater precision, greater quality. What's the action that you would start doing more?
I would say a good one would be be more consistent on social, because like one of the things that my business could use right now is more traffic, and we get customers all the time, primarily from YouTube, and I need to publish more, and I need to go out there more. And
do you like publishing on social? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay. And when you say publishing more on social, what types of posts do you imagine yourself creating or publishing more of?
First? I would say 3 to 4 YouTube videos a week, and then maybe 2 times daily on IG Reels.
Great.
And then sending out, being more consistent with sending out emails every day to my newsletter list.
Okay.
And posting on Facebook.
Okay. Now, are all of these things that you are personally trying to take on the responsibility of doing, or are these things that you're trying to integrate in with your team so that you have some key actions and then your team helps to systemize it? Obviously, you could do either, but what are you imagining right now?
I'm imagining, let's say if we look at YouTube, let's focus on YouTube because YouTube is my main platform.
Great.
That's something that I generally do myself, meaning I will record the video, I'll edit it. We don't do that much in editing, and I enjoy doing it because I like figuring that stuff out and getting better at it. And so for me, like posting more on YouTube is the team. I have the team that can help me with certain things, but predominantly it is on me. I got to be the one that takes out the phone and record the video, and same thing with IG. So
here are some tricks. You might be able to use some of these in order to move things in the direction that you want. Right now, this is a practical approach to what you're addressing here. We're not really getting too deep into the emotional, psychological stuff. This isn't super NLP, but you'll find that it's interesting. So number one is I've been preaching for years that people should live stream every day. For email marketers, for entrepreneurs who are trying to build their email list, who are trying to get started, who are trying to find their voice, who are trying to create content, who are trying to generate traffic. I've been telling people for years to live stream every day, but I had a problem. And my problem was that I wasn't doing it every day on a consistent basis myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling people to do one thing, but I was doing something different myself. I was out of integrity for a long time, and it really pissed me off. I couldn't find a way to be consistent, to just show up every day and live stream and do the very thing that I was telling my students to do. And the only way that I have found personally to circumvent that problem is because I don't actually like posting on social. I don't enjoy it very much at all. I'm starting to slowly over time, but all of the micro interactions with social media on all the different platforms, I find it hard to keep up with. I find it pretty emotionally detached, and it doesn't have a lot of like actual meaning to me. So I have a hard time staying engaged with it. What I found was that having a regularly scheduled broadcast time to live stream so that I have to show up on time and turn the camera on, number one, dramatically increases my ability to create content on a regular basis. And number two is if I have a co-host, life is so much better because I have something interesting to talk about with said co-host. I have someone that I'm going to be showing up for, and they're going to be showing up for me because we have a scheduled meeting time to meet every day. So right now, this is the 80th episode of the Get Shit Done show, which we started on January 1st, 2025. So it's a 7-day-a-week show. And this is the first time I've done a 7-day-a-week show. But you were talking about publishing on social more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And so a great way to do that is to live stream on a pre-scheduled basis. Maybe it's 5 days a week, you know?
Yeah.
And then use that content to then edit into your into your tighter YouTube video, and or use that content to push out on your other social platforms, right? So there are elements there, from scheduling to getting a co-host to live streaming, that set up. What it does is it sets outside accountability other than just you, in order to take the action.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. That actually has been on my list.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So I for a couple of different perspectives, because there's a few people that I know that are doing well by going live on IG, for example, and then recently I had a few people were saying that, you know, with YouTube was prioritizing content, you know, live as well. And I thought of the idea, but that's the idea. That's to the extent that it went. So I'm in agreement with you, right?
You know, one thing that I've not found to be the case, which is annoying, is right now I live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and I probably should be doing it on Instagram. I just haven't set it up for whatever silly reason. I don't find that those social platforms fan the flame very much on my live streams. I find that doing the live stream, sometimes we get a few viewers that are very interactive and give lots of comments. So for example, we've got 9 comments on this live stream so far from let's see, we have 2 different people. Sorry, I didn't see these in here earlier. We have Robert from the UK. Good morning, Robert. Good to see you. And we have Lori Wilk, who is a new Get Shit Done super fan, who says, good morning. We need to market and promote your show to get more viewers. I fully agree. We have a conversation. We should have a conversation later today, if possible, Lori. Lori loves the show. We have Elizabeth Fuller, who's on here. But I guess what I have found is that I have been I've been displeased, and then I let it go with the whole idea of the social platforms really giving live streams a lot of juice. TikTok is giving live streams a lot of juice on the other hand. So it's not that it can't happen, but at least for me right now, that's not my primary move. It's more because it's scheduled, and because it's live, and because I often have a co-host. It creates the episode on a super consistent basis that then creates the video file that we can use to do 1,000 other things with, right? So for me, that's more valuable. Or for me, that's what is valuable, I guess, is
what's valuable for you is a mechanism by which it allows you to create content.
To get shit done. Exactly. Yeah. So when you say you want to increase your self-worth. So one thing I would challenge you on is that, so beliefs, right? This is a big deal. We think about beliefs and we think, oh, we're stuck in this place because of our limiting beliefs. We are the way we are because of our limiting beliefs. And I propose that may be true, but that thinking about limiting beliefs in that way is actually what's stopping you. It's not about the limiting belief itself. It's about the way that you're thinking about it. So I believe that all beliefs by nature are limiting.
Okay. Yes.
Every belief.
Yeah.
Okay. Every belief that one thing is real is a belief that something else is not. Right. Every belief that one thing is more important is something else is less important. all beliefs have boundaries, right? And so it's like when people try to get rid of their blocks. There's no block. There's no block. There's no block in your head. Okay. There's not a Lego sitting in there that's preventing the neural pathway from completing. That's not what's happening, right? There's not a little brick. What there is a belief, and we want to expand it. You want to expand your belief into something greater, something better, something different. And so what are three awesome things about you that you know about yourself?
The things that come to my mind is persistent. I think you're asking for qualities, or maybe now I'm overthinking.
Tell me what you want. What, 3 awesome things about you. What do you got?
I'm persistent. I'm helpful in the sense that I help people every day, have success in their business through the stuff that I offer. And methodical. So I'm very good at helping people take apart their problems and put them back together. Those are the 3 things that came to my mind right now. But I'm not, yeah.
So when you've said overthinking a few times, and just now you said it as if it was a bad thing, right? Like, now I'm overthinking again, right? So let me ask you a question about overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
If overthinking were a skill, an ability that you could use to do awesome stuff with, what would you call it instead of overthinking? What's another name for overthinking when it's applied in a useful way that it becomes an asset?
Methodical.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, you're thinking. There's nothing wrong with thinking, Chris. Nothing. Thinking is great. Having a good brain, very important. Not everybody has one, right?
Yeah.
And so when you say that if you had higher self-worth, that you would post more on social media, one question I have for you is, does it require high self-worth to post more frequently on social media?
No, it doesn't.
Lots of people with low self-worth post on social media all day, every day. Right? Like, happens all the time. And so with the other thing about, you remember how you say, well, maybe I would publish more on YouTube.
Yeah.
If I felt like I had enough information, like if I felt like I knew enough.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, again, another question is, do you need to know enough to make a video on YouTube? Or can you just make a video about what you know?
Yeah. I mean,
like, is there actually ever enough? I don't think there is. I mean, is there actually a limit to the information that you could absorb? No, there's no limit.
Yeah.
It's infinite.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct. Like, in other words, is there what was your question again on that?
What the word you used was enough. Am I enough? Do I know enough? Do I have enough? I feel like I have imposter syndrome. Am I really good enough to do this? And so what I'm saying is, enough for who? Or enough for what? What are you measuring yourself against?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if we talk about YouTube, it's like, do I know, like, am I doing things right? Do I, that's an interesting phrase, because that's when I say that, I think about, like, I've had therapies with a bunch of people about certain events that happened in my childhood that kind of triggers that. Am I doing things right? And so meaning that, hey, like, it's not enough for me just to go and look at one YouTube course. I had to go through 10 of them. And then, oh my gosh, I got all this.
I can tell by the way that you described the way you did all the NLP research, like, you're a researcher. You really went and got the information, right? Like, yeah. So you've probably taken the Colby Index A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a high fact finder?
I'm a high fact finder. What's the other one? Fact finder,
Fact
follow
finder.
through.
Fact finder, follow through, quick start, and implementer.
Yeah, I'm a 1 quick start.
Oh,
And
I'm a 9 quick start and like a one fact finder.
yeah, I'm a 9, 8, 1, 3.
Well, we're like opposite.
Yeah, we are. We should have an opposites party.
We should try teaming up and see if we enjoy working together or if we completely hate each other.
Yeah, that would be interesting, actually.
No, sometimes it works, but sometimes it's like, train wreck, right?
Yeah.
So, so other than publishing more frequently on social, like let's actually just forget about the business entirely. Forget about the internet entirely for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the self-worth stuff. If you had higher self-worth, if you accepted yourself more, all the good and all the bad, if you were okay with you as you are right now, how would that impact your life? Like, how would that change things for you?
I'd be happier. I'd be more content, right? And I would be moving more quickly without hesitation. Those are the two things that come to my mind.
Okay. And earlier, when it comes to accepting compliments and taking compliments, how do you do with giving out compliments? Do you tend to compliment people and tell people when you appreciate something, or do you tend to hold back and not say something because you want to make sure that you really, really mean it if you're going to compliment someone or something? Like, what's your relationship with giving compliments or giving praise, whether it be to your team or to your customers or to your family, right? Is that something what's your story?
Yeah, I would say it's I don't give out that many.
Yeah. I've been accused of the same thing, dude. Like, I have to really, because I think it's because I tend to deflect them when they come my way too, right? Or downplay them, or be like, oh, I'm fine. Anybody would do the same thing, whatever.
Like the Matrix, when the bullets come, you're like, yeah.
But they're not bullets. You see, you used bullets as a metaphor for compliments right now.
No, I just realized that the minute I said that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm calling compliments bullets.
Yeah, good. No, that's not the right picture in your head on compliments.
Yeah.
So one thing, you know what I really like about you, Chris? You have an absolutely spectacular haircut.
Yes.
One of the best ways to start feeling better about yourself is by giving other people more genuine, heartfelt compliments and praise with eye contact. Right? That's the best part, is really into the awkward silence for a moment. Like really make sure that they hear it. Not fishing compliments, not compliments where you're saying nice so that somebody else says something nice to you, but where you're just genuinely complimenting someone for something they did, something they said, an email communication that you appreciated, something they said on a conference call, whatever. By nature, that makes you feel better about yourself too. And it's a little bit like, it's a little bit like doing volunteer work, right? If you're not feeling so good about yourself and you think your life sucks, go volunteer at a homeless shelter for a little while, and suddenly you're going to appreciate your life a lot more. And just as a result of spending the time, effort, and energy helping other people, it creates a just an internal sense of well-being that's much more balanced than you can get just sitting around in front of a computer screen watching YouTube videos trying to figure out what's wrong with you, you know?
Yeah.
But the giving of compliments, I encourage you to give that a shot. Like try giving at least one deep, meaningful, heartfelt compliment to someone every day for 30 days and see how it affects your inner world.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big piece to the puzzle. But where you're going with NLP, I love what you have created with your Richard Bandler ChatGPT. If at some point you're so inclined to share that with me, I'd love to try it out if it's not too personal. But it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I could send you a Loom video how to put it together yourself, because it's kind of like a database.
Yeah,
it's a database that then you can tap into and ask questions and advice. And so I do that every day. I talk. ChatGPT is my best friend. I can't live without it now.
That's awesome. Now, do you use ChatGPT or other AI tools in order to increase your productivity in your business?
No, predominantly I use ChatGPT only because I feel that it's the most useful, has the most, it's the most useful in terms of like different plugins and everything else. And at the same time, I didn't want to spread myself out too thin between too many of them, because there's so many of them. Like if I'm going to follow them, then there's a new one coming out every week, so
it's incredible. Yeah, you can't follow them all. There's no way.
So I'm really good at ChatGPT and my workflows and everything that I use with it. So for me, I'm just going down the rabbit hole on that one. And I actually talked to Sheffrin about that because he had a new program that he launched on that, and
I saw that, but I haven't dug into it yet. I saw the webinar promo for that, but I didn't. I didn't actually check it out.
Yeah, it's really. I guess the best way to describe it is having ChatGPT as your thinking partner. But in order for it to be the thinking partner, because what happened is I got together with him. He lives not that far from me, so maybe about a month and a half ago we got together because I had told him that I had done the thing with the journals.
Yeah.
And so but he had journals that he had handwritten. So then he took, I told him about what I did, and he took his journals and had him, he sent them somewhere so that they could be recognized, and he loaded them up into ChatGPT. And all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, ChatGPT knows so much about me.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing, because how is it going to give you advice if it doesn't know anything about you? Right. So what he created, and I'm inside his group, is that, how do you feed it? How do you feed ChatGPT all this information about you and your idiosyncrasies and everything? So then now it becomes your best thinking partner. And then also, because a lot of times, like say, for example, if I'm trying to give myself advice, it is clouded by a lot of stuff going on in my head that potentially I might be like not really willing to peel back the onion.
No, and so we're all super biased. All of our own internal chatter is complete garbage. Like it's completely derailing, most of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the interesting thing is, so that's what I've been using using it for productivity. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like if I have like 10 YouTube videos that I love to watch, like it caught my attention. Well, I mean, I don't want to, it would take time to watch all of those videos. So I basically have a ChatGPT where I pop in a specific prompt from a transcript on the video, and it'll give me the whole outline of the video, talking points, action items, etc. So very much I could, in a minute, look at the whole thing and say, oh yeah, I understand what this video is about. I think what I needed, and I move on. So stuff like that. And so from a productivity standpoint, and also I feel like I want to make sure that ChatGPT knows and understands more about me so that it could help me. Right. And so that's what but what's interesting, going back to I had a question for you with regards to this, the NLP, is that,
please,
there's so many different rabbit holes you can go down with NLP.
Right.
Steve Andreas, Bandler, Tad James and all those other ones. And many times they're derivative of others. And to you, I was curious as to, and then I see the benefit of hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
From what do you think is like the 80-20 of that? Meaning like, hey, Chico, if you're going to focus on one thing, I would focus on hypnosis, so that way you could put yourself in the right state of mind, and then use this other things here, and that will get you 80% of the results, and don't worry about the rest of this stuff.
Okay, well, let's go back to it. What's the result you're looking for?
Interesting. So
I mean,
yeah.
What's the
I want to change.
What are you working toward, and then what are the tools that you need to get there, right?
The thing that when you say that, I said this the other day, I need to change the movies in my head.
Great.
Because the movies in my head are not serving me and not allowing me to look at myself and the world in a way that allows me to achieve my goals in an effortless way.
Cool. Well, so here's what comes into mind. First of all, if you want to explore this with you and I at some point in the future, I'm happy. Like, call me and we can talk. We can talk about it or work on it or do something together if we want to. Side note, if that seems like the right move. Let's say I don't exist aside from working with me, because I didn't create NLP, right? Like I went and I got trained with Bandler, so that's the first thing that pops into my mind. Is from time to time I think Bandler still does trainings. And if you want to learn NLP, you said, I want to change the movies in my head. And that really is what NLP is all about. Okay. Yeah. From my perspective, I learned hypnosis first, then I learned NLP. And I learned hypnosis in my 20s. It was a long time ago. And so I look at NLP as concentrated hypnosis. I kind of think about NLP like as hypnosis moonshine. Okay. NLP, in my opinion, basically is a derivative of hypnosis. Okay. And NLP is great because you can do a bunch of amazing things real time without doing a slow progressive relaxation that often is used in hypnosis and so on. So it's really good in emergency situations. It's good with like high intensity athletes, peak performance, when you're speaking from stage and you're like, you have an anxiety attack and you need to like get yourself, on point or whatever. NLP is like, it's like a hypnosis for an EMT, Got it. But at the same time, if you want to learn NLP, go train with Bandler. I mean, that's the answer. He's still alive. If he's still doing trainings, go train with him. Yeah. His trainings aren't that expensive and it will blow your mind. Right. And and in the past, anyway, he's done lots of trainings in Florida. So I don't know if he's still doing it. Yeah, as I said, so that's one thing to look into. The reason is when you get certified in NLP, the way you get certified is by going through and doing all the techniques, and you're doing them with yourself and then you're doing them with other people. You really learn how to use these techniques in a practical way. And and then you're using them with yourself. Maybe you're using them with your kids. Maybe you're using them with your team. Maybe you're using them in your speech and your webinars and your sales videos. Maybe you integrate NLP into your copy, right, as you get better at it. So it's NLP is a incredible body of knowledge in order to get very intentional about your communication, both out of your mouth and the internal communication to, start getting a different result. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really cool stuff. It's really amazing stuff. Shy of training with Bandlers, I would take an NLP. Like I would go and sign up for a week and a half long, 10-day long NLP certification program with someone who's actively teaching it. If you really want to get good at it, that would be the 80-20, right? That like you want to get good at NLP fast and really dig into it. That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, the adjustment to that question from me would be that am I really interested in learning NLP? Not necessarily. What I'm interested in is changing the movies in my head, right? Meaning, so in other words, so, I had this interesting thought because I wrote it down. I had gone down the rabbit hole. This is what interested me in NLP, in the Bandler stuff. I'd gone down the rabbit hole of the law of attraction, right? We know about that.
Yeah.
And, the law of attraction says, increase your vibration, feel good. But then that's so with the generic. And then I looked at the Bandler stuff and the things that, hypnosis. And I'm like, well, if feeling good is the intent, right? Because you're always going to be, generally doing good work when you're in a good state of mind, then these techniques feel like the methodical way of engineering a state that will be conducive to anything you want to do in life.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. So to me, just from also your advice here, but let's say, for example, hypnosis, how does hypnosis, like in other words, I'm just thinking out loud, is that going back to my for anybody who's listening, I'm not interested in being an NLP practitioner. I just want to get better at playing the right movie in my head at the right time, so that way I can feel good and do what I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, again, if you want to bring it back to what's the 80-20 of the whole thing, how do you get the biggest result? Biggest result with minimum effort, I guess, is work with someone directly who knows what they're doing. It's work with a NLP and or hypnosis practitioner who does this for a living and will teach you the techniques and walk you through the process of practicing them to get the result that you want. Here's the thing, dude. You're like, I want to change the movies in my head, but I don't think you want to change the movies in your head. You want to change the movies in your head so that you can what? Feel good? Is it that simple? Or is there something else? Like what's the outcome you're looking for?
Well, I mean, change the movies in my head would be like an example of.
Well, you could change them to a million different things. So you don't want to change the movies, though that might be what you do in order to get the outcome that you want. But to what end? Why do you want to do that? At the end of the day, it's just to be happy, right? That's really what it comes down to in my mind, because if you're doing the things you want to do in the way you want to do them, then you're going to be happy and you're going to move about life in a different direction, in a different way. Yeah. So that's the initial thought. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's the initial thought that I had when you asked that question. Great. Well, so let's say because you want to feel happy more often, right? That's a reasonable.
Yeah.
That's something reasonable. Yeah. And you want it to be genuine happiness, and just want to like take a drug to make you feel happy or whatever, but you actually want to feel happiness more often. And so, so working with someone would be great. I would be happy to discuss that.
Definitely would love to chat with you about it.
But you can hire other people too. There are plenty of really smart people in the space. There are several really great hypnotists and NLP guys, even in the direct response marketing community at this point. So, there are several, but you must at this point be familiar with the theater of the mind technique, yeah?
Yeah, from psycho-cybernetics.
Yep.
Right.
And so that very common NLP technique, and literally that particular technique is all about changing the movies. That's kind of the whole thing. That's why it's called theater of the mind, right?
But like that's an old psycho-cybernetics is a really old book. But then when I look at that and I look at the NLP, like say the NLP looks more methodical around that. Like it gives you the actual, like, hey, the theater of your mind. And I'm like, I don't know how to create that versus I feel like the NLP digs deeper into, okay, what are all the submodalities and all the things that you would put in place to create that theater of the mind. So to me, when I looked at that, the psycho-cybernetics, I was like, well, this seems more methodical. Like the NLP and hypnosis seems a more methodical way of implementing the theater of the mind. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, well, I mean, theater of the mind, in my opinion, theater of the mind is theater of the mind. I don't know who originally came up with the technique, but what I do know is that tons of people use theater of the mind in their NLP trainings, and yet it also is inside psycho-cybernetics. NLP is a huge body of work at this point. There have been tons of people who've expanded it and gone into all sorts of detail, but I would suggest if the goal isn't to learn NLP, if the goal is to shift some things internally, then work with someone who has some experience.
What's your take on the difference between NLP and what Tony Robbins teach? People say Tony Robbins is really a watered down version for the masses of NLP. So you're getting kind of like a ice cream sundae version of the real, of what the real body of work is. What's your take on that?
My take on it is, before I knew anything about NLP, I was working in a positive changes hypnosis clinic, because that's where I got trained in hypnosis, and I got a job. And there was a copy of Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power sitting on the shelf, and I would read it when I had a no-show or in between clients. And it changed my life. It was a powerful book, and it taught a whole bunch of basic NLP techniques in a very practical, usable, tangible, no bullshit kind of way that I was able to immediately put into practice working with my clients right after I read them and get a result. My opinion is that Tony Robbins isn't a watered down version of NLP. Tony Robbins is a well-communicated, well-marketed version of NLP that people can actually understand and do something with. Whereas most of that more academic NLP texts are a complete waste of time because they sound good. They're written by very smart people who have very little ability to actually put things into action, for the most part, with the exception of a few of the key books written primarily by the creators of NLP, Bandler and Grinder. But still, even a lot of that stuff is so heady, it's hard to translate it into practical application. And that's where going to a workshop or getting trained kind of forces everybody into practical application, because you're seeing real-time examples of it. So I found that I'm not I've never been to a Tony Robbins conference. I'm not a huge Tony Robbins fanboy or whatever, but I have found that the stuff I've read and the tapes that I've listened, I listened to cassette tapes from Tony Robbins back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
Implementable, usable for me personally in my own life and with my clients. So
that makes sense, because I listened to some Bandler videos, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing is all over the place. It's like a roller coaster of I don't know what it is, but so it is very difficult.
But Bandler stuff is not linear at all, right? You're going to learn it over time by absorbing it and taking it in, which is a lot like Milton Erickson as well. You just kind of have to learn it by exposure, whereas Tony Robbins stuff is actually learnable. In a sequential linear process, which I find very helpful.
Perfect. I definitely want to connect with you after here. So 100%.
Awesome, dude. Well, check it out. We're creeping up on the hour here. I know it's Friday, so we both have a bunch of stuff to do, I'm sure. Guys, if you have enjoyed today's episode of the Get Shit Done Show, I encourage you to go follow Cris Chico on his YouTube channel at youtube.com/@flipanywhere.com.
You can go to YouTube and search my name, and then you'll see me with the glasses and if you're interested in finding about real estate and what I do, then certainly visit me there, and you go down the rabbit hole of YouTube.
That's right. Awesome. This has been great. Thanks for jumping on. And Cris, I mean, I really didn't know that much about you until today. Like after all these years, just a little bit in the background. So it was a really good conversation, and I appreciate your your willingness to break out of your planning tendencies and just do something spontaneous and jump on and get on here, and all of the synchronicities that were involved that I guess brought us together today. So this is really
Yes.
cool.
It was just like everything just came together until you said, I'm going to call that guy. And and I said, yes. And so here we are. We're on to our new adventure together. How about that?
That's right. That's right. Rock and roll. Well, dude, I will shoot you my my cell phone number, and we can catch up today or this weekend or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into the Get Shit Done show. And if you're not a member already, please go join us at getshitdone.com. Join our community. I'll give you a couple of free hypnosis sessions. You're going to get the Get Shit Done session. I actually just popped the Hypnosis for Luck session in there for you. So if you join the getshitdone.com community, you're going to get some free hypnosis. You're going to get the Get Shit Done system. We do weekly work parties to help you get shit done. So come join us. It'd be great to see you on the inside. And Cris, thanks again for jumping on and helping us get shit done today. This was awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Rock and roll. All right. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.